Well, I think he was really a statesman, and that's how people on both sides of the political aisle viewed him. And in the last few days, as it's become apparent that he was losing his battle with brain cancer, many Democrats, not just Republicans, but many Democrats have said, look, we didn't always agree with him politically, but we did view him as an absolute titan here in Washington, D.C. He'd been a fixture up on Capitol Hill since the 1980s. He had this extraordinary moral authority that, of course, came out of his experience in the Vietnam War, 5 years as a prisoner of war there, tortured by the Vietnamese, and he was also such an articulate and influential voice up on Capitol Hill, in large measure because he was a man who believed in the art of legislative compromise. He believed that it was possible, not just possible, but desirable for politicians to reach out across the aisle, debate the problems that beset the country, and find a way of compromising in the best interests of all the American people. And that is what set him so far apart from President Donald Trump. As you said, the president has now tweeted, "My deepest sympathies and respect go out to the family of Senator John McCain." The use of that word respect will be viewed as interesting by many observers here because they had such a tempestuous relationship. John McCain's widow, Cindy McCain, has just tweeted, "My heart is broken. I am so lucky to have lived the adventure of loving this incredible man for 38 years. He passed the way he lived, on his own terms, surrounded by the people he loved, in the place he loved best." And that, of course, is a reference to Arizona, his home, and the state that he represented up on Capitol Hill. And there's also been a statement from Barack Obama, again illustrating the extent to which Democrats were respectful of John McCain and his achievements. And remember, Barack Obama won the 2008 presidential election against John McCain, who was the Republican presidential candidate at the time. And President Obama says that we saw our political battles as a privilege, something noble, an opportunity to serve as stewards of high ideals at home. We saw this country as a place where anything is possible, and citizenship as our patriotic obligation to ensure it remains forever that way. Few of us, he writes, have been tested the way John once was, that of course a reference to Vietnam, or required to show the kind of courage that he did, but all of us can aspire to the courage to put the greater good above our own. The words of Barack Obama tonight on the passing of the man that he beat in order to secure the keys of the Oval Office.
Yeah, and Simon, you mentioned this relationship that John McCain had with Donald Trump. It was a frosty one, isn't it? But what were the main issues that you would say John McCain was disagreeing with Donald Trump? Remind us about that.
Well, I think fundamentally philosophical disagreements about the way in which the art of politics should be practiced. I mean, John McCain was a different kind of Republican. He came from a different political and legislative tradition. Donald Trump, of course, came from no political tradition whatsoever. Donald Trump criticized Senator McCain on the campaign trail in 2015, arguing that he wasn't a war hero, saying that he was only a war hero because he was captured in Vietnam. "I like my heroes when they're not captured," said President Trump. That was just the beginning of what became such a dreadful relationship that the McCain family let it be known a few months ago that President Trump will not be welcome at Senator McCain's funeral when that takes place in due course. Donald Trump was also furious with Senator McCain that while he was sick, he returned to Washington and cast, in essence, what was the deciding vote against President Trump's desire to repeal and reform Obamacare. And that thumbs down that John McCain gave on the floor of the Senate was not just a thumbs down to that particular initiative by President Donald Trump, it was a thumbs down to the entire Trump administration and everything that it stood for. So very difficult times ahead now for President Trump. He's been magnanimous in the tweet that he's put out tonight, using that word respect for Senator John McCain, but there will be many Americans who don't buy the idea that President Trump had very much respect for Senator John McCain, and I think we're going to be hearing in the days ahead from Americans all over the country their memories of John McCain, and they will be tinged in the glow of a light of political tradition here in the United States that clearly no longer is in power in Washington, D.C.